Scotland controls 6 times more sea than land, generates 113% of its electricity from renewables, and holds 90% of the United Kingdom's fresh water, despite having just 8% of the population. That combination of maritime reach and abundant renewables is striking. Most people picture politics when they debate independence, but what if geography alone makes Scotland's case logical? The answer is not what you have heard. And it starts with a map that will change everything you thought you knew about this country. On paper, Scotland looks like a small country. Its land area covers just under 79,000 square kilometers, about the size of the Czech Republic. But the real scale of Scotland is mostly hidden from view. When cartographers at Marine Scotland chart the nation's boundaries, they include the surrounding seas, territorial waters that stretch far beyond the coastline. Under international law, every inhabited island extends Scotland's maritime reach, multiplying its domain to more than 462,000 square kilometers. That is nearly 6 times the size of Scotland's land. This vast marine territory means Scotland commands 63% of the entire UK maritime zone, despite making up only 8% of the UK's land mass. The rules that define these boundaries come from the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea, which allows countries to claim exclusive rights over waters up to 200 nautical miles from their shores. For Scotland, with its hundreds of islands and deeply indented coastline, this transforms its global footprint. The result is a country that, when mapped by its true borders, is not small at all, but a maritime nation with one of the largest sea areas in Europe. Salt spray and gale-force winds are routine off the coast of Peterhead. In 2017, a team of engineers faced something even more daunting. They worked on anchoring floating turbines in waters 30 meters deep, battling waves taller than a house. Magnus Moenkel, project manager for the high-wind floating wind farm, remembers weeks lost to North Sea storms and the challenge of mooring turbines on an unpredictable seabed. Yet the payoff was historic. By 2024, Scotland was generating 113% of its electricity needs from renewables, more than the country could use, with the excess flowing south and across the sea. Offshore wind capacity now stands at 40.5 gigawatts in the pipeline, placing Scotland among the world's top 10. On the Shetland Islands, turbines routinely achieve capacity factors between 50 and 58%, a performance rivaled only by the best hydro plants in Norway. Floating wind technology, once a gamble, has become a signature Scottish export, harnessing the vast marine territory revealed by the charts and turning it into a practical engine for energy independence. Rain sweeps across the Highlands, feeding a network of more than 31,000 lochs that carve deep into the Scottish landscape. These glacial basins are more than scenic backdrops. They are the nation's hidden reservoirs. Scotland holds 90% of the surface fresh water in the United Kingdom, while accounting for just 8% of the population. The scale is almost hard to grasp. Loch Ness alone, stretching for 23 miles and plunging to depths of 230 meters, contains more water than all the lakes in England and Wales combined. Across the country, rainfall averages between 1,400 and 1,600 millimeters each year, with the Western Highlands sometimes recording over twice that amount. This abundance supports not just drinking water, but also hydropower, agriculture, and industry. In a world where water is emerging as a critical strategic asset, Scotland's lochs and rivers provide a level of security rare in Europe. While droughts and scarcity threaten other regions, Scotland's freshwater endowment stands as a quiet but powerful advantage. In 1905, Norway stepped out on its own, with a population of 2.3 million and no oil fields in sight. Its leaders, reading the landscape, saw promise in the country's mountains and rivers, and they imagined an energy future built on hydropower. Today, Norway is home to 5.4 million people and produces 98% of its electricity from hydro, exporting power to its neighbors and ranking among Europe's wealthiest nations. Finland followed a similar path. Independence arrived in 1917, with a population of only 3 million and little heavy industry. The country's forests and lakes became the backbone of its economy, supporting growth through timber, paper, and later technology. Both nations show how small populations paired with abundant natural resources can support thriving modern economies. Their success did not depend on vast land or huge numbers, but on the ability to harness what their geography offered. For Scotland, with a population of 5.5 million, a surplus of renewable energy and expansive territorial waters, the Nordic experience offers a compelling precedent. The Norwegian model demonstrates how geography can be transformed into economic security and international influence even before the discovery of oil. These examples suggest that the path to prosperity for resource-rich small nations is neither accidental nor unique to the past century. 1922, Ireland took its first steps as an independent state, with a population of just 3 million and an economy rooted almost entirely in agriculture. There were no vast oil fields, no industrial giants, just farmland, fisheries, and a determination to chart its own course. Ireland's territory was smaller than Scotland's, and its energy resources were far more limited. Yet the question of viability was never defined by size alone. Over the following decades, Ireland's sovereignty allowed it to steer its own economic policy, join the European Union, and eventually transition from a rural outpost to one of Europe's fastest-growing economies. Denmark offers another instructive example. Its total territory, including both land and maritime zones, is about half that of Scotland when Scotland's sea area is counted. Yet Denmark's independence is never questioned on the basis of geographic scale. With a population of nearly 6 million, Denmark manages a stable economy, a strong welfare state, and a global reputation for innovation. Despite having fewer natural resources than Scotland and a much smaller maritime domain, these cases challenge the idea that a country must be large or richly endowed to be viable. Both Ireland and Denmark began with modest means, yet their sovereignty was never constrained by their physical footprint. For Scotland, the benchmarks set by its Celtic neighbour and its Northern European counterparts serve as reminders. In the modern era, independence is not reserved for the giants. 60% of Scotland's exports are sold to the rest of the United Kingdom. This single figure captures the scale of the economic relationship that underpins everyday trade. Scottish whisky, salmon, electronics and machinery all depend on seamless access to English, Welsh and Northern Irish markets. Services, finance, insurance and higher education follow the same pattern, with London and other United Kingdom cities serving as major clients and partners. Manufacturing, agriculture and the energy sector are closely tied to supply chains that cross the border daily. The reliance is not confined to a single industry, it is woven through nearly every sector of the Scottish economy. For many businesses, even a minor disruption to this flow would mean higher costs, new paperwork, and uncertain demand. The numbers are clear. While Scotland's geography offers the resources for self-sufficiency, its economy remains deeply connected to the United Kingdom market. Any change in that relationship would be felt immediately in the balance sheets of exporters and in the pay packets of workers across the country. The London School of Economics published a report in 2023 that sent a clear warning about the economic consequences of Scottish independence. Their modelling projects that Scotland's national income could fall by 6 to 9% in the years after separation. This estimate rests on the assumption that new trade barriers would disrupt the flow of goods and services to the rest of the UK, Scotland's largest market. The report's lead author, Professor Swati Dhingra, emphasized that the modeling assumes no fiscal transfers and full exposure to new customs checks, tariffs, and regulatory divergence. Currency is another unresolved question. The UK government has ruled out a formal currency union, meaning Scotland would either need to adopt the pound informally, launch its own currency, or pursue euro membership down the line. Each option demands significant foreign exchange reserves, potentially 10 to 20% of GDP, to stabilize the new currency and reassure markets. Building up such reserves would require years of budget discipline, likely forcing cuts or higher taxes. Geography may provide resources, but it cannot insulate an economy from the costs of transition or the realities of financial markets. Scotland's geography delivers resources most nations only dream of: surplus energy, vast waters, and strategic freshwater reserves. Yet, independence is never just about maps or megawatts. Today, those assets shape every debate about sovereignty, and they remind us that sometimes the land itself rewrites the political question. What is your perspective?